One of the things I absolutely love, I love interviewing newcomers to the country who just really take action and start getting things done, especially when it comes to real estate investing. And today's special guest, Eduardo Trizan, is originally from Brazil, now lives near Montreal, and he's definitely, he and his wife are really starting to pick up speed with real estate investing. So, Eduardo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Actually, it's a quite an honor. I've been a listener and now being an interviewee. It's definitely an honor. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you on the show. So, Eduardo, tell us a little bit about life in Brazil and what what made you decide to come to Canada?
It's definitely a good question. So life in Brazil is definitely different from what we have in Canada. I would say that you try to survive most of the time. There are a lot of good things, but like most of the population, maybe like 7% of them is actually living day by day, trying to survive. And one interesting fact was I was working for a company in there, and they said like, their salary is quite high, like a little more, you're gonna be making like two above, and I was making like $1,000 a month, and
wow.
It was really really low. But it is the market, So we started discussing about like, well, I want to try abroad, and my wife and I, we had this discussion. Okay, where we want to go, because you want to go to Japan. I'm not going to Japan. That's definitely a no. And I was okay. Calm down, that's fine. So we had like English speaking. We thought about Canada, US, UK, and Australia. And I was saying like, Australia is too far. US is not my gig. Let's find something that is in between. And I had a friend that came to Montreal and said, why don't you guys come to here? And like Montreal is a good place, etc. And I was, okay, let's give it a try. And that's how we start like the whole process in Brazil. And
so what year did you come to Canada?
2014, April the 9th. I cannot forget.
Very, very vivid date, April 9th, 2014. Okay. And I know it's a big process and a lot of paperwork to make all of that happen. Walk me through kind of like, once you got to Canada, when did you guys start thinking about real estate investing?
So real estate investing is actually something that my wife has been breathing for most of the time. It's funny because I'm here, like being the face, but it's way back in time. My wife comes from a family that is basically builders. Her father and cousins, uncles, and she was actually built in Brazil. She before we came to Canada, they finished a 58 units building apartments. Before that was a 30 units, and we came.
So were they were builders? Did they build for other people, or did they keep those buildings themselves?
I would say half and half. There was some part of a partnership, especially when they had like a land. They found someone that had the land, and they, okay, I can exchange the land for 4 apartments, and then I'll sell. So they had some agreement. I wouldn't say a JV. I would say like bare minimum corporation style.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they try to leverage as much as possible this kind of partnership with people that had either the asset or the land or some capital, but not that much. It's not common in there.
Yeah, it's a very different working situation, cultural situation, business way of doing business in Latin America, that's for sure. So, yeah. Okay, so your wife kind of grew up around builders and real estate and all that kind of stuff. You got to Canada, so she was the one poking you, saying, "Hey, this is what we should be doing." So then what? What happened then? Because you're in a new country, new languages, new way of doing things, new way of doing business. What were those first steps into Canadian real estate investing for you?
Yeah, so the first step was even going to real estate. We needed to get back our same like level of lifestyle and connections from Brazil. You come here, you have nothing, like nobody knows you. And that was the first step that we had to make. Then as we start talking, she was saying, okay, why don't we like invest in real estate? I've been investing in like public stock option, private stock option, Forex, crypto. I never tried. Like, let me give like some thought. And that's when we start like talking about it. And we had
what year would that have been? So he came in 2014. So when was that?
2020, and
2020,
middle of the pandemic.
All right. You had some time.
It's funny because like we had this conversation with two other couple of friends, and they wanted to explore real estate as well. And we were like doing like courses, education, something that we don't have, not even here, is like financial literature, and like you really understand it. And that's when we realized, well, we're in the pandemic, and there is a bid war. We have capital, but it's not enough. And what do we do? Like how we get into it? That's when we started exploring partnerships, and I really started to dig into like what a partnership is, what it means, because it's a different country, there's different regulations. And that's how I understood like how security regulations actually work and how different they are, and how you cannot or you can ask for money. And so fast forward 2023, this year, we joined a group in Alberta for a deal with 38 units. We're passive investors, but we
are you limited partners in that deal? Is that what you would call it? Is it a syndication?
Exactly. So it's a syndication. We're going to be passive investors, LPs. It's a group of people that we actually know, and they are like sharing how they are doing it, what is like the painful portions. It's a multifamily investment. And that's something that we definitely don't have in Brazil. So everything was like completely new for us. And that's actually a very nice learning experience, to be like on the back seat and getting people that are way more experimented than you, and really learning from the process,
Yeah. Well, that's smart. I think that's very smart learning. I like how you put that, learning from the back seat. That might be the title of this one.
I love it.
So Eduardo, that's good. And you got started with that earlier this year, but I understand that you and your wife have a project that you're much more actively involved in. So tell me a little bit about that. What are you guys up to?
Definitely. So everything actually started with us selling our house. So our back in here is actually pretty much gone. And we decided, okay, let's sell the house. Let's find something that is suitable for us to invest. And we partnered up with a realtor, an amazing person. And she was like, yeah, like, let's explore different areas and let's see how we can work. And again, like the partnership became super important, because it's a skill that I don't have, that my wife doesn't have. And we were talking and we found the land. The three of us said, okay, how much we can get for this, etc. What we can do in this land. We figure out the front of the land was quite wide. So, okay, let's ask the city, can we actually build like a bigger unit in there? And the city was, yeah, like you can go up to 4 units. And
so what does it have on it right now? A single family home?
Exactly. It's a single.
So you're going to do a redevelopment is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be intensifying a piece of property and doing a redevelopment there. Cool. So you, your wife, and your realtor are partnering on this. Are you all putting in capital, or how is that working?
I would say is much more like a GV in this scenario. We don't have necessarily everything written. Is more like, okay, you're gonna sell for us, and you're gonna buy with us. So that for us actually. So we are putting the capital, we are putting the credit, we are putting the effort to get to the city, get the plans. She's coming with the knowledge. Okay, for me to sell in this area, this is how much we're gonna need to target. That's the final price that you're gonna need to have. So our due diligence is basically we sit together. Your role is the realtor, you're gonna sell it. Our role is like, I need to make the financial as Eduardo. My wife she's a civil engineer. So she's doing the whole process of like, let's get the building like there,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. So is it really a JV, or is she just making a commission on the futures? She made the commission on you guys buying it. Have you purchased it already, or is this still in progress?
It's under contract. We should be waiving the conditions maybe this week or the next one.
Okay, congratulations. That's great. So
Thank you.
so is the realtor really a partner, or is she your realtor who's got paid a commission for purchasing it, and she'll get a commission on the back end when you're selling? Is she also getting a piece of equity in the property, or just the commissions?
So we are not doing under a corporation. That's the biggest difference between having an equity partner versus having a commission-based partner. She's a commission-based partner. Why we're not doing with corporations, mainly because of tax. We're talking, and basically under our names is better in order to sell the house, get financing and everything. So we decide to go our names first, and then we grow it.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand how this is working here, Eduardo. So you guys have already sold your house, or you are in the process of selling your house?
We have already an offer that has been signed. So
okay,
right
but you're
now
still living in the house right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So when you sell the house, that's when you're going to close on the other property? That's when you're going to purchase the other property?
No, actually, we do have already the final approval. So we have an A lender bank that has been given us the final approval.
Sure. Good.
Right now, the process is basically due diligence. We're meeting as many people as possible in order to understand what is the cost associated to the project before we just say, okay, let's waiver. But right now, it's looking quite good.
Yeah.
So we're taking the leap on there.
So, question: now that you're selling the house, where are you guys going to live in the meantime?
It's definitely a good question. What I'll say is I don't know yet.
Okay, because I was wondering, okay, are you selling the house so that you're going to buy this new property and then live in the property while they're building, or you're going to build and live in there and kind of property hack? I'm trying to get my head around what's the plan.
We thought about living in and doing the construction at the same time, but I'm not sure it's going to be like feasible. So right now we are exploring two options. One is going back to renting, seeing how the market will go. So we get something in between a year or two to get a new house, seeing how the market is going, because we're in 2023. Interest rates will be there until like mid next year. We might find some good deals next year. Why not wait for a year?
Yeah, so you want to access your home equity right now. And I imagine a lot of that capital going to go into the construction, or where you, if you're already set up with the down payment and everything for this purchase, what are you going to be using the equity from your home in?
Yeah, so we have three plans, to be honest. Right now so basically the way we're looking is we have the house. Let's make sure that we finish the whole process of like due diligence, purchase, and make sure that we have this firm. Now, option one that we have is we're gonna look for a B lender, see how we can extend the loan to basically do the construction using a B lender. The other option that we have is basically work with partners. We have been talking with a few different people from Brazil, people from here in Canada. We've been sharing what is the vision, what are we trying to do with the property. And in case there is a need, we're going to be leveraging other people's money to actually do the project. And the third one, some people actually ask us for the RSPs. So one other option that we are looking is to use a trust account in one of the companies that allows us to use RSPs to actually have the mortgage using other people money from the RSPs. So there are 3 plans right now.
All right, very good. So then the project, you're looking at building 4 units on that property. Is that correct? Are they going to be, is it going to be a 4-unit building, 4 townhouses? What's it going to look like at the end at this point?
There are a few different approaches right now. So it's either 3 or 4. The 3 will be basically the same level. And then the intention is to be like a townhouses in the end of the day. If it is a 4 units, it'll be 2 floors, like the first and the second one, because we don't have enough space and we're going to need to leverage the height. Some constraints are like we needed to have parking spots. So we are working with an architect to make and a surveyor to make sure that we have the spaces before we just say like we're going to go like 4 units. Those constraints are main because of the city's regulations. So we're basically designing on top of this and the selling price. Like we look at the per unit, the region, and we needed to attain that selling price. Otherwise, we're not competitive. And so it really depends. We are in the process of getting all the estimations with every single constructor.
So basically, it's probably going to be individual units that you're going to sell separately. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Very, very cool. So what do you foresee being some of the challenges moving ahead with this plan, Eduardo?
It's a good question. First of all, there is a big difference between building in Brazil and South America and building in Canada.
Undoubtedly, yes, of course.
The good thing about this is because my wife has been working for the city for quite some time and doing renovations here in Canada. So regulations and understanding all this process is something that she knows much more than I do. And I try definitely not to like give any advice. That's her area, like her domain. But it's a challenging, like understanding this, navigating 2023 high interest rates, how you can actually make profit with all the situations. So we are trying to be very careful in how we approach this, because any mistake could basically render the property a bit unaffordable for some years. And the other point is basically fundraising. Like going back to one of the biggest reasons 2020 when I started looking at fundraising was, okay, I need to understand how I leverage like other people's money and like lenders in general, which is also other people money. So there are a lot of to navigate how I talk to people, how I created the right relationship, show to them like this is the risk, this is the possible profit, what Canada allows me to actually do. So this is a very complex scenario if you do not know, and if you're trying to do for the first time. And I'm not saying that I did for before. I'm just saying that I've been reading for like 3 years and getting like people that work in AMF, which is the security law and security regulation organisms in Quebec, to understand it. And I think that's going to be also a big chunk of my time. And is a challenge that I quite like.
So, Eduardo, let's fast forward a year or whatever it is, a year and a half, and you've got this 3 or 4 unit building built and sold. Then what? What do you and your wife want to do with real estate investors? You want to become builders and then just be building and selling stuff? Do you want to get into multifamily and buy and hold stuff, or build to rent? What are the big picture long-term goals?
What I'll say first from my wife perspective is something that she loves. It's about like building, and something that I actually love is holding them. So our goal for the next 3 years, 5 years is to build like 10, 20, 30 units, refi, hold it, do this using like partnerships. And since I mentioned in 2020, I'm building also a startup on the domain of fundraising. So my intention is to actually bring this forward. Like we gonna use the technology to bring people to understand the investment by building, holding, and keeping the generational wealth for like longer. That's the intention for the next years.
Very good. Eduardo, exciting plans. If people want to connect with you, what should they do?
I'm pretty much in almost every social media. So LinkedIn, Eduardo Trizan, Facebook, Eduardo Trizan, Equitalle. You have the website, Equitalle.ca. I can send all the links for the podcast. So just reach out to me any social media or through email. I'll be happy to connect and share. Like it's the beginning of a journey, but I love what I'm learning, and that's something that I'm really like passionate about.
Fantastic. Well, Eduardo, I wish you and your wife all the best. You're off to a great start. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you on the next episode.